I think the big challenge in the first few weeks of employment is the loss of staff, and these are new starters, and there are many reasons why people tend to leave. But if you look at the staff retention profile, then there's always a peak of loss in those first few weeks of employment, and we can certainly do a lot more about it, I think, than perhaps we do. And one of the main issues is that people joining at that stage, that they're uncertain, there's a lack of confidence. Obviously they're going to get induction training, but they don't feel part of the organisation, and there's a lot of emotional and physical demands on them to understand all of the compliance and all of the expectations on them and build relationships with people. And if they're new to care, then I think they've got this extra challenge. And we do find as well that existing members of staff, particularly if you have staff retention problems, can step back a little and not want to develop relationships or support new members of staff because they're expecting them to leave. And so they sort of sit back a little bit, and you can see more isolation and loneliness amongst those new staff. So it's very difficult a time of employment, and a really important one to try and improve. And one of the ways I think we can do that is to look at the expectations of that candidate in the first place, of that new starter, in terms of the hours that they're expecting to work. So some people, for example, who are new to care, they might have not considered care before an employee or a member of staff or had recommended them. Then they need to be brought usually into care more gently. So they build their hours up over time. If they're thrown in at the deep end and given an awful lot of work, many shifts initially, then I think that can make people it can overwhelm them, and then they'll just feel they can't cope. And you compare that with somebody who perhaps is very familiar with working in care, or they have a real pressure on them to earn a certain amount of money every week. And that type of person will leave for the opposite reason, and that is they don't have enough hours, enough income quickly enough. And although we do have enough hours for everybody, really, in most cases, I think it's sometimes we don't appreciate those two different sort of sets of expectations. But beyond that, I think one of the main things we can do is appreciate people, spend time. I know it's difficult to do. Be welcoming, so putting someone's name on a board as they walk into the office for the first time is very powerful, simple little thing to do. But otherwise, more generally, then I think there are schemes and incentives and work we can do to improve it. One of the very encouraging schemes I see working in other countries and starting to see over here as well is peer mentoring, is supporting, assigning a colleague, not a supervisor, but a colleague from the care staff, more experienced member of care staff, to support, provide emotional support and help build the confidence of those new starters in the organisation. I think that's very important, and I think the visibility of the supervisors, the visibility of the leaders in that organisation is also very important, and generally being welcoming. And so I do encourage providers to, if they can, take a photo of the new starter before they join and share that with their name to all the office staff. So if they meet them, making coffee or something, they can say, "Oh yes, it's Neil, isn't it?" And make people feel that they're special. Put their name up on the first day on a board or something when they come into the office. And lots of tips and tricks like that to try and help prevent unnecessary staff loss.